all you need to understand the market in a nutshell. This is Deep Dive Finance by N3WS.
Hey everyone, ready for another deep dive?
Always.
Awesome. Well, today we're taking a look at the market movers from October 25th, 2024. It was a day full of twists and turns, that's for sure.
Definitely a lot to unpack.
Yeah, we've got some intriguing decisions from companies like Spirit Airlines, Nvidia, Capri Holdings, and even Boeing making waves.
Should be interesting.
For sure. So buckle up because we're about to break down what happened, what it all means, and why you should care.
Sounds good to me.
All right, let's kick things off with Spirit Airlines. You know, those guys.
Yeah.
Famous for their, let's call it budget-friendly approach to air travel.
Yeah, the no-frills flyers.
Exactly. Well, they announced that they're selling some of their planes and, unfortunately, cutting jobs.
Sounds a little rough.
Yeah, my initial thought was, uh-oh, that's not a good sign. But then I saw their stock price, and I was floored.
What happened?
It jumped, like, way up. 20% to be exact.
Wow. That's not the usual reaction to news like that.
Not at all. But when you dig a little deeper, it actually starts to make sense. Investors are responding to a strategic shift by Spirit. They're selling off some of their newer Airbus A319neos, which, while modern, are probably pretty pricey to lease or finance.
Interesting. So are they thinking long-term rather than short-term?
Exactly. It's a move towards long-term financial stability instead of just chasing rapid expansion. And the job cuts, while definitely unfortunate, are part of that same strategy. Reducing operating costs sends a clear signal to investors that Spirit is serious about boosting profitability.
Makes sense. Investors like to see that kind of forward thinking.
They do. It really makes you wonder if this is the beginning of a trend. Will we see other budget airlines prioritize profits over growth? Something to keep an eye on, especially if you're interested in the travel industry. Okay, now let's switch gears completely and talk about Nvidia, the chip-making powerhouse that just reclaimed its title as the world's most valuable company.
Yeah, they knocked Apple off the top spot. That's a pretty big deal.
Huge. What's driving their rise? Well, in a word, AI.
Of course. Everyone's talking about AI these days.
Right, and Nvidia's chips are the brains behind everything from self-driving cars to those incredible generative AI apps that seem to be popping up everywhere.
I see where this is going.
Yep, their latest earnings report completely blew past expectations, and that sent their stock soaring.
So should we all be buying Nvidia stock now?
Hold on, it's not quite that simple. Nvidia stock has actually been on a bit of a roller coaster ride this year. It surged early on, fueled by the initial AI hype, then dipped over the summer when investors got a little jittery about overvaluation and competition. And now this.
Sounds like the tech sector in a nutshell. Volatile.
Exactly. It's a prime example of how quickly things can change. It highlights the importance of really understanding the underlying technology and the market trends, not just getting caught up in the hype.
Solid advice. So Nvidia is a company to watch, but maybe proceed with caution.
Definitely a story to keep following. Now let's move from the world of cutting-edge tech to the world of high fashion. Capri Holdings, the company behind luxury brands like Versace and Michael Kors, had a rough day. Their stock took a nosedive, plummeting by a jaw-dropping 46%.
Ouch. What happened there?
Well, a U.S. court blocked their proposed merger with Tapestry, the company that owns Coach and Kate Spade. The Federal Trade Commission argued that the merger would stifle competition, and the court agreed.
So they wanted to create a fashion powerhouse, and the government said, not so fast.
Exactly. This ruling throws Capri's entire growth strategy into question, not to mention the financial hit they're taking.
It's a reminder that the business world isn't just about numbers and strategy. There are legal and political forces at play that can have a huge impact.
Very true. Okay, ready for our final market mover of the day.
Hit me.
We're blasting off, well, almost. Boeing, the aerospace giant, is considering selling their space business.
Whoa, hold on. Boeing. Selling their space business. That's unexpected.
It surprised me too, but it seems like they might be cutting their losses and refocusing on their core strengths, like commercial aviation and defense.
Makes sense. Space exploration is incredibly expensive and risky.
Right. And they've had some setbacks with their Starliner spacecraft program, which has probably put a strain on their resources.
So are they throwing in the towel on space altogether?
Not necessarily. It's possible they're simply acknowledging that maybe their strengths lie elsewhere and that partnering with or selling to another company that's totally dedicated to space exploration might be the best path forward.
Interesting. Almost like passing the torch to the next generation of space explorers.
I like that analogy. And this move by Boeing really shows how industries are constantly evolving, Companies need to adapt and make tough choices, sometimes even stepping back from areas where they were once pioneers to stay competitive.
You've got that right. Change is the only constant, especially in today's fast-paced world.
For sure. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today, from airlines to AI chips to high fashion and space exploration. What are the key takeaways here? What's the common thread?
Well, one thing that's clear is that the market moves fast, it's constantly changing, and companies have to be able to adapt.
And that often means making tough decisions, right? Like Spirit Airlines selling off planes and cutting jobs, or Boeing potentially getting out of the space business altogether. They're making bold moves to stay ahead of the curve.
Exactly. And it's not just about reacting to change, it's about anticipating it, understanding the trends, seeing the opportunities, and making strategic decisions to capitalize on them.
And let's not forget the human element. Behind all these stock prices and corporate decisions are real people whose lives are affected. The job cuts at Spirit Airlines are a good example of that.
Absolutely. It's easy to get caught up in the numbers, but we can't forget that business decisions have real-world consequences.
Okay, before we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with a thought-provoking question. We've seen some big shakeups in a few industries today: airlines, tech, fashion, space.
Which makes you wonder what's next. What other industries are ripe for disruption? What trends are emerging that could change the game?
It's something to think about for sure. The market is constantly evolving, and staying informed is more important than ever. So keep your eyes peeled, your ears open, and your minds engaged. Wow, we've covered a lot of ground today, haven't we? From budget airlines to AI chips to high fashion and even space exploration.
It's amazing how it all ties together, isn't it? Decisions made in one place can have a ripple effect across entire industries and the global economy.
And technology is constantly changing things up, creating new opportunities, and disrupting the old ways of doing business.
It's a really exciting time to be following the markets, that's for sure.
It is. And as we've seen today, staying informed is more important than ever.
Absolutely. It's not just about knowing the headlines, it's about understanding what's driving those headlines. What are the motivations of the players? What are the potential consequences?
Right. It's about connecting the dots and seeing the bigger picture.
Exactly. And that's what we try to do in these deep dives. We want to go beyond the surface and give you the context and analysis you need to make sense of it all.
So as we wrap up today's episode, I want to leave you with one final thought. We've seen how companies like Spirit Airlines and Boeing are adapting to the changing market. They're making tough choices, sometimes really tough choices, to stay competitive and succeed in the long run.
And that raises an important question for all of us, doesn't it? What can we learn from these companies? How can we apply those same principles of adaptability and strategic thinking to our own lives and careers?
Because let's face it, the world is changing faster than ever before. What worked yesterday might not work tomorrow.
So stay curious, keep learning, and don't be afraid to try new things. Step outside your comfort zone.
The future belongs to those who are willing to adapt and evolve.
Well said.
And remember, we're all in this together. The market might seem like this abstract thing, but it's really a reflection of our choices and actions.
So let's make smart choices, act with intention, and try to create a future where innovation, sustainability, and well-being are at the forefront.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Well, folks, that's a wrap for today's deep dive. It's been a
Merci.
pleasure exploring these topics with you.
As always, thanks for joining us.
And until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay engaged.